Okay, you may find this extremely far-fetched, but let me say it and just put it somewhere in the back of your mind and you'll come to the truth of the matter in the fullness of time. There's something much finer than matter and energy. In this dimension, well, Paramahansa refers to them as lifetrons. I'll say more than he said. Every lifetron is an individual. Just as every snowflake certainly seems to be different. There are 6 or 8 billion people on the earth. No two of them have the same history. No two of them identical. They are all unique. And it's well within the possibility that every conceivable form of life can be unique. In a sense, it's within the realms of possibility, isn't it? Even probability. They are as essential to life as, if you like, electrons are essential to matter, or electrons and protons and neutrons and whatever they're made up of, which ultimately, I suspect, is lifetrons. We've divided the physical from the spiritual because it's a convenient distinction, but it's possibly a question of degree. If you like, big enough concentration of atoms and you've got a chunk of matter as you recognize it, a desk or a wall or something, Enough energy condensed together perhaps gives you matter. Enough thought may even give you energy. Perhaps enough lifetrons gives birth to thought. We are life. And our God has to be the epitome of life. True, our God has to be our view of the epitome of life. That's what we value. Else we would not exist. We are given this inherent drive to survive. Don't think I'm going to break into poetry. Hang on. How do we receive to our life the food it needs, the lifetrons? Well, food, of course. Well, ideally, fresh, organic, uncooked, nourishing food. Well, most probably fruit. Perhaps the herbs. Some plants, to some extent. Not really a herbivore, but we might have been in our evolution and structure at some point. But fruit, astonishingly. Fruit seems to be made purely to suit us, that we distribute the seed for the plant. Wow. If it gets it wrong, the plant wouldn't exist. Well, unless there's another animal, of course, that can do the job. So there may be some plants we shouldn't eat. Deadly nightshade sounds like one of them. And we're all individuals, so it's not necessarily that your diet is ideal for me or for another person. Not necessarily, anyway. And we find this to be the case. Some do well on a diet, whereas others just get chronically ill, overweight, and die young. Or even waste away. But we need sunlight too. Perhaps sunlight streams lifetrons into us, whatever our condition. Certainly gives us warmth, doesn't it? And of course energy, in that it seems to give the plants life, which gives us life in food that we eat. And the air we breathe too. We don't seem to last very long without air. You know, we can manage much longer without food, but not without air. He stopped breathing. Oh, perhaps he's dead. Oh, we don't say he stopped eating. Oh, perhaps he's dead. No, he's not eating. Oh, he's not very well then, is he? What's wrong with him? What's up? So there is the notion that perhaps there's a form of practice where we unite with lifetrons, and call it Kriya if you like. Perhaps it's triangular breathing, or perhaps it's something more than that. Perhaps it requires an act of the will of the mind as well. We're not clear. It doesn't seem to require it when it comes to food and sunbathing. So perhaps it doesn't with breathing either. Just breathe properly and you live longer. I don't mean you necessarily live forever, but you might. I mean, I'm not sure the mechanics of things, eh? Perhaps, too, we become a magnet for lifetrons when we are in love. We're flying, we're full of energy, and, you know, he can't sleep, he just wants... Oh, he's just alive with thoughts of her and being with her, and everything's wonderful, and the world's just singing to him. Lifetrons are streaming into him. He's drawing them like a magnet. Sorry, I put that in the male, from the male point of view, but you can understand why, can't you? I guess I'm hoping she feels the same way. So too, if you're loving God, you become an absolute magnet for his thoughts, his way of thinking, his values. He shows you the way, and you have ears to hear because you love him. You're thinking of him. You're taking everything in life in accordance with knowing him, wanting to know him better, being alive to the thoughts of him, conscious of him. You become a magnet for lifetrons streaming into you. They feed the soul, personhood. They are life. And he, your God, is the Lord, the giver of life. For all live unto him. Wow. Well, that's my discourse on lifetrons. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Well, I thought, listening to this, when we mentioned sleep, how we recharge ourselves in sleep, perhaps not just reprogrammed in heavenly places for the next day, but revitalized too. And also what occurs to me is, are we, well, a bit like the Hindu notion and understanding, more like a city of life, each of us, together making up a particular amazing self that we should collect and use so many lifetrons adding day by day, that we are nurtured in these other dimensions, so to speak, which is very much this dimension too. We are a composite, astonishing mountain of life, really. And in the greater plan of things, that all life together constitutes an extraordinary persona, which of course may be in some sense what God is. All life as a composite of all of us. We see that sort of structure in our physical universe, don't we? You know, particles making up atoms, making up molecules, making up, from our point of view, the objects and things that we see, and the planet that we're on, and the stars, and the galaxies of systems in themselves, each one its own sort of character and beauty and individuality, and then clusters of galaxies, and who knows how much further up it goes. For we see perhaps only the tiniest fraction of what may be infinite universe. And that in its turn only reflects the composite nature, the blueprint, the prototype that all creation mirrors at every level. You know, we see how patterns in nature, whether it's freezing water or the way plants form their leaves and so on, what happens with currents in water, you know, the currents mixing. Amazing patterns that seem to get repeated on grand scales and microscopic scales too. The sort of curly shape of a snail shell and the same amazing twists in a way in a spiral universe, of a galaxy. Atomic systems like nucleus and electrons, supposedly, and solar systems, star systems too, galaxies. It's the same sort of orbital come physical principles applying at every level. We don't know what life is, but we suspect we are it. How amazing. Thank you.